Welcome to Speed Reads. Introduction. In the digital age, where social media giants wield unprecedented influence over global communication and public discourse, the inner workings of these powerful entities remain shrouded in a veil of carefully curated narratives. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams' Careless People pierces this veil, offering a stark and unflinching insider's account of Meta, formerly Facebook, during a pivotal period of its meteoric rise. This book is not merely a recounting of corporate events, it is a critical examination of a company culture that, according to Wynn-Williams, prioritized unchecked growth and engagement above ethical considerations and societal well-being. Through meticulously detailed anecdotes and observations, she paints a portrait of a company grappling with the immense power it had accrued, often at the expense of user safety, democratic principles, and employee well-being. Careless People delves into the heart of Meta's leadership, scrutinizing the decisions and actions of key figures like Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, and revealing the internal dynamics that shaped the company's trajectory. This analysis will delve into the book's core themes, including the culture of growth at any cost, the perceived lack of leadership accountability, the company's engagement with authoritarian regimes, and the profound societal impact of its platform. Furthermore, we will explore the internal power struggles, information control, and employee pressures that characterized Meta's workplace, as well as the legal disputes that have arisen since the book's publication. By examining these elements, we aim to provide a comprehensive understanding of Wynn-Williams' critique and its implications for the future of social media and its role in shaping our world. Before we continue, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams' Careless People meticulously details a corporate culture at Meta, formerly Facebook, where the relentless pursuit of growth superseded ethical considerations and societal impact. This culture, she argues, permeated every level of the organization, shaping decision-making processes and prioritizing metrics above all else. A prime example is the company's approach to user engagement. Internal discussions, as depicted by Wynn-Williams, often revolved around maximizing time spent on the platform, even when evidence emerged that prolonged exposure contributed to the spread of misinformation and the amplification of divisive content. The book alleges that algorithms were tweaked and features were prioritized based on their ability to drive engagement, regardless of their potential to exacerbate societal problems. For instance, the emphasis on viral content, which often thrived on sensationalism and emotional manipulation, was maintained despite internal warnings about its detrimental effects. Furthermore, the company's expansion into new markets, particularly in developing countries, was driven by a desire to increase user numbers, sometimes with insufficient consideration for the local context and potential risks. Wynn-Williams portrays a scenario where the company's aggressive growth strategy led to the platform being exploited for political manipulation and the dissemination of harmful propaganda in regions with limited media literacy. The drive for growth also extended to the company's internal operations, with employees often pressured to meet ambitious targets and prioritize short-term gains over long-term sustainability. This culture created an environment where dissent was discouraged, and concerns about potential harms were often dismissed as obstacles to progress. The book also details the company's push into the Chinese market, where the desire for access to a vast user base outweighed concerns about censorship and human rights. This pursuit of growth, even at the cost of compromising fundamental principles, underscores the central theme of Wynn-Williams' critique. In essence, Careless People paints a picture of a company where the pursuit of growth became an end in itself, eclipsing ethical considerations and contributing to a range of unintended consequences. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams' Careless People presents a stark portrayal of Meta's leadership and its approach to accountability, painting a picture of a company where responsibility was often diffused and ethical considerations were secondary to growth. The book's critique centers heavily on Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg, depicting them as leaders who, while undeniably brilliant, were often detached from the real-world consequences of their decisions. Wynn-Williams portrays Zuckerberg as a visionary driven by an almost obsessive desire to expand Facebook's reach and influence. This pursuit, she argues, often led to a prioritization of growth metrics over ethical considerations. For instance, the book details instances where internal teams raised concerns about the potential for the platform to be used for manipulation and misinformation. But these concerns were often dismissed or downplayed in favor of maintaining user engagement and growth. Sandberg, meanwhile, is portrayed as a skilled operator who excelled at managing the company's public image and navigating complex political landscapes. However, Wynn-Williams also suggests that Sandberg's focus on maintaining the company's reputation sometimes led to a reluctance to address internal problems or acknowledge the platform's negative impacts. The book alleges a culture of diffused responsibility, where accountability for negative outcomes was often difficult to pinpoint. When controversies arose, the company's response was often characterized by carefully crafted statements and strategic apologies, rather than a genuine commitment to addressing the underlying issues. Wynn-Williams describes instances where internal teams were tasked with managing crises, but lacked the authority to make meaningful changes. This created a sense of frustration and disillusionment among employees, who felt that their concerns were not being taken seriously. Moreover, the book highlights a perceived double standard in the way that different employees were treated. High-level executives, particularly those close to Zuckerberg and Sandberg, were often shielded from criticism, while lower-level employees were held to a much stricter standard. This created a sense of inequality and undermined trust within the organization. Wynn-Williams also suggests that the company's emphasis on data-driven decision-making sometimes led to a neglect of qualitative factors, such as the emotional impact of the platform on users. While data was used to optimize engagement and growth, it was often insufficient to capture the complex social and psychological effects of the platform. The book also describes a lack of transparency in the company's decision-making processes. Important decisions were often made behind closed doors, with limited input from employees or external stakeholders. This lack of transparency contributed to a sense of distrust and undermined the company's credibility. The book contains accusations of the company valuing the opinions of those who were loyal to the leadership over the opinions of those who would voice concerns about the ethical implications of certain decisions. It is also alleged that there was a lack of diversity within the upper levels of the company, and that this lack of diversity contributed to a narrow perspective on the company's impact on society. In essence, Careless People paints a picture of a company where leadership was often detached from the consequences of its decisions, and accountability was more of a public relations exercise than a genuine commitment to ethical conduct. This portrayal raises important questions about the responsibilities of tech leaders and the need for greater transparency and accountability in the digital age. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams, in Careless People, meticulously outlines Meta's approach to user engagement, revealing a system driven by the relentless pursuit of increased time spent on the platform, often at the expense of user well-being and societal health. The book alleges that Meta's algorithms were meticulously designed and constantly tweaked to maximize engagement metrics, prioritizing content that elicited strong emotional responses, regardless of its veracity or potential consequences. This resulted in a platform where sensationalism and outrage often trumped factual accuracy, leading to the proliferation of misinformation and the amplification of divisive rhetoric. Wynn-Williams details instances where internal teams raised concerns about the potential for these algorithms to exacerbate societal problems, but these concerns were frequently sidelined in favor of maintaining user engagement and driving growth. The emphasis on viral content, which often thrived on emotional manipulation and inflammatory rhetoric, was maintained despite internal warnings about its detrimental effects. Furthermore, the book portrays a culture where data-driven decision-making, while seemingly objective, often failed to account for the qualitative impact of content on users. While metrics like time spent on the platform were meticulously tracked and optimized, the emotional and psychological consequences of prolonged exposure to the platform were often overlooked. This led to a situation where the pursuit of engagement, while seemingly beneficial for the company's bottom line, had unintended and often negative consequences for users and society as a whole. The book also describes a lack of willingness to change these systems, even when the negative effects were shown. Careless People meticulously documents the far-reaching societal impacts of Meta's operations, arguing that the company's focus on growth and engagement has inadvertently reshaped the fabric of public life. Wynn-Williams contends that the platform's algorithms, designed to maximize user interaction, have significantly contributed to the rapid dissemination of misinformation and disinformation, eroding trust in established institutions and exacerbating public confusion. The book portrays a landscape where viral content, often fueled by sensationalism and emotional manipulation, overrides factual accuracy, leading to the spread of conspiracy theories, false health information, and politically motivated propaganda. Moreover, the platform's architecture, favoring content that elicits strong emotional responses, has played a role in the increasing polarization of public discourse, creating echo chambers and reinforcing extreme viewpoints. This has resulted in heightened political division, hindering constructive dialogue and undermining democratic processes. Wynn-Williams also highlights the erosion of user privacy, detailing instances where data collection practices were not fully transparent, raising concerns about the potential for misuse and the impact on individual autonomy. The book further explores the platform's influence on democratic institutions, citing instances of foreign interference in elections and the use of social media for political manipulation. The mental health implications of prolonged exposure to social media are also addressed, noting the potential for anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem, particularly among young people, due to constant social comparison and exposure to curated content. Furthermore, the book implies that the rise of Meta has contributed to the decline of traditional media, weakening the financial stability of news organizations and impacting their ability to produce quality journalism. In essence, Careless People presents a sobering assessment of Meta's societal impact, highlighting the unintended consequences of a business model driven by growth and engagement, and raising critical questions about the responsibility of tech giants in shaping the digital age. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams' Careless People provides a detailed account of Meta's internal dynamics, revealing a complex environment characterized by information control, power struggles, and intense employee pressures. Within the company, information flow was often tightly managed, with key decisions concentrated among a select group of executives, leading to siloed communication and hindering collaborative efforts. This control, the book suggests, served to maintain the company's carefully curated public image and minimize the risk of damaging leaks. Internal politics and power struggles were also prevalent, with employees vying for influence and advancement, often prioritizing loyalty to key figures like Mark Zuckerberg and Sheryl Sandberg over merit. This created an atmosphere where dissenting opinions were discouraged, and concerns about potential ethical lapses were frequently dismissed. The relentless pursuit of growth placed immense pressure on employees, demanding long hours, constant availability, and unwavering dedication, leading to widespread burnout and high turnover rates. Furthermore, the book highlights a perceived lack of diversity and inclusion, particularly in leadership roles, which contributed to a narrow perspective on the company's societal impact and fostered a sense of marginalization among certain employee groups. A culture of fear permeated the organization, with employees hesitant to voice concerns or challenge the status quo, fearing potential reprisals. This created an environment where problems were allowed to fester and ethical dilemmas were often ignored. The influence of Zuckerberg's inner circle, a small group of loyalists, further exacerbated these issues, creating an in-crowd dynamic that alienated other employees. Adding to the complex narrative surrounding the book are the legal disputes that have arisen since its publication. Meta has vehemently contested the accuracy of Wynn-Williams' account, alleging violations of her severance agreement and taking legal action to restrict her ability to promote the book. These legal challenges have added a layer of controversy to the book's reception, raising questions about the company's efforts to control the narrative and suppress critical voices. The legal action has also limited the author's ability to speak publicly about the book. This dispute highlights the tension between freedom of expression and the power of large corporations to protect their reputations. The legal battles themselves have become a part of the book story, further illustrating the power dynamics at play and the challenges faced by those who dare to criticize powerful institutions. The legal disputes have also created a chilling effect, making other employees hesitant to come forward with their own stories. In essence, the internal dynamics depicted in Careless People and the subsequent legal disputes paint a picture of a company where power, information, and loyalty are tightly controlled, and where dissent is met with resistance. Conclusion: Careless People stands as a potent and controversial indictment of Meta's corporate culture and its impact on society. Sarah Fryer Wynn-Williams' detailed account paints a picture of a company driven by an insatiable appetite for growth and engagement, often to the detriment of ethical considerations and the well-being of its users. The book's exploration of Meta's leadership, internal dynamics, and engagement with authoritarian regimes raises critical questions about the responsibilities of tech giants in the digital age. From the proliferation of misinformation and the polarization of public discourse to the erosion of privacy and the potential for political manipulation, the societal consequences of Meta's actions are far-reaching and deeply concerning. The legal disputes that have followed the book's publication further underscore the power dynamics at play, highlighting the challenges faced by those who dare to challenge powerful corporations. Wynn-Williams' work serves as a crucial reminder that the pursuit of technological innovation must be tempered with ethical considerations and a commitment to accountability. It calls for a broader conversation about the need for greater transparency and oversight in the tech industry, and the importance of safeguarding democratic principles and human rights in the digital realm. Careless People is more than just a critique of one company. It is a cautionary tale about the potential for unchecked power to undermine the very foundations of our society. As we navigate the complexities of the digital age, Wynn-Williams' insights offer a valuable perspective on the challenges and responsibilities that lie ahead, urging us to demand greater accountability from those who shape our digital world. Thanks for listening. See you in the next Speed Read.